There's a lot of consensus on how these athletes may seek the rewards for their commitment to excellence. Take, for instance, the case of Cameron, Cammy March. I'm pleased that Cammy's testifying here today as part of the esteemed panel. Go Cougs. Cammy is a student at Washington State University, captain of the golf team, and an app developer.
Thank you for the opportunity to represent my fellow student athletes at WSU before the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Consumer Protection and Commerce Subcommittee today regarding the ability of student athletes to utilize our name, image, and likeness. This designation of student athlete is presented to prospective students as something that is of benefit to them, an opportunity to pursue both their academic and athletic aspirations on a dual track that gives them stability and community. However, through my process of developing my app, I have found that because of the NC2A's regulations, this title sometimes acts in hindrance to a student's aspirations that don't fall so squarely in the distinction of student or athlete. I found myself at a disadvantage to non-athletes on campus who had similar entrepreneurial pursuits because their developments were allowed to exist outside of the context of what they contribute to the school. I understand that this is a nuanced conversation and that there might be a concern for how the loosening of these regulations could cause corruption, dishonesty, and an unfair advantage for colleges who can offer more immediate incentives than others. However, I urge those on this committee today to not view the pursuits made by the Name, Image, and Likeness Bill as a final victory for student athletes, but instead view it as a jumping off point towards a larger goal of protecting and fostering them. In tandem with the financial policies that are implemented, it is important to discuss how to support all athletes within whatever new system exists. In much of the discourse I have heard about the changing landscape of name, image, and likeness, both the public perception and political questions seem to be centering around the stars of the collegiate sports world, namely football players, basketball players, and mostly men. The concern here is that the lesser lucrative sports are getting lost in the conversation, and by extension, so are the players. Our unique perspectives, opportunities for sport participation, and passions outside of the sport are just as relevant and important as our counterparts in the typical revenue-generating sports. I know this too well as a female athlete of color, currently playing women's golf, a sport that isn't the most lucrative or visible. This is why I feel as though it would be wishful thinking to believe that someone like me would ever be on an equal financial playing field as a star quarterback. That is why it is important to view the evolution of this conversation on a parallel path with the supplementary support and development of the student athlete's business acumen. One of the only ways someone like me can equal the playing field is by marketing myself, essentially building the uniqueness of my circumstances as a female golfer of color into a valuable brand. I also think that the student portion of a student athlete's identity should be better catered to with more of an emphasis on business, financial, and economic literacy, so they are better prepared to make decisions and advocate on their own behalf. Washington State has been so helpful in this area by providing resources in student athlete development, personal branding, financial literacy, and even offering a 4-credit entrepreneurship course catered to the elements of name, image, and likeness. But it's important that this is something that is required on a more universal level so that every athlete, regardless of circumstances, can receive the support that they need. In closing, I share my experience today in the hopes that you will appreciate that the opportunities afforded student athletes with the use of our name, image, and likeness impacts all student athletes, whether we are entrepreneurs creating apps or the starting quarterback. Having a standard that will support all student athletes is important, and I hope that today I can provide a unique perspective as I experience the new NIL opportunities from an athletic and entrepreneurial vantage point. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story.